was in love somehow. Something in your kiss just told me, my son.
So head-to-head today is both Chanel's Egoiste and Chanel's Les Exclusives Bois d'Iles, or I'm actually pronouncing this incorrectly. I don't know how to pronounce the Iles. Either way, I believe it is translated to island wood. Correct me if I'm wrong. I believe that's what it is. Now, just so you all know, the original version was released in 1926. This is obviously reformulated. Ernest Bow did the original composition. If you could get your hands on vintage Bois d'Ile, which I sincerely doubt at this point, then you are very lucky, because the sandalwood that they used is strictly forbidden at this point, and they used that in the original composition. I believe I've heard that the original composition is much heavier than this version. Um, projects and lasts longer, and is overall more sweet, and just more has a more vintage feel to it, obviously. Um, so this is the Polish version. He recreated the Bois d'Ile as the best that he could. I have not smelled the original version, obviously, so I could not tell you if it smells exactly alike, but I do believe that, given that Jacques Polish he's a credible perfumer at this point, I believe that he probably did the best that he could, and has made something that smells almost identical to it. According to people that have mentioned this creation, the new one from the Les Exclusives line, they say that this smells basically identical, except for it does not last or project last as long or project as well. So that being said, obviously the original version of Egoiste was released in 1990. This is not vintage juice. This is the reformulated juice. I have smelled both. The vintage is better, but it's not like it's skyrocket. It's if I could pick up a bottle of the vintage for $100 or $120, say, I would do it. But I'm not going to pay the $400, whatever the hell the ridiculous prices for it on eBay. For that fragrance. It's just kind of preposterous, but it is worth. I would pay up to $150. Okay, I know I said $120. I would pay up to $150 for the original vintage Egoiste. I love Egoiste as it is. It is, in my top 10 favorite designer fragrances to use, especially for fall and winter, and it is worth every penny to me. It just kind of, it's one of those fragrances that I wear for me, and it just, kind of a comforting scent. So I would pay up to that amount for the original vintage version or the cologne concentrate version. But this, for the $80, is almost exactly alike. So obviously these are both the reformulated versions of the original versions, and that's what we're going with here. Now, this is going to be more of a comparison video, even though I did give you some background on Bois d'Ile. I heard that Ernest Bow obviously has quite a few compositions that he created, that Bois d'Ile was his favorite composition. I've read a few different articles about perfumery from the 1920s and the 1930s, and of course how Chanel started. And for him to say that this is his favorite composition that he created is pretty high standards, I guess, is what this guy kind of he created a lot of good perfumes. So for him to say that this one is his favorite is saying something. Now, Egoiste, obviously, is Jacques Polge, and of course this version of Bois d'Ile. Jacques Polge created a fragrance that was not released, which was kind of like the blueprints of Egoiste. That was apparently one of his favorite compositions, and I believe it was never released, and they came out with Egoiste. Now, Egoiste, when it first came out, was not popular amongst the Americans. Obviously, all the fresh fragrances were coming out, Cool Water, Polo Sport, etc., so on, Acqua di Gio. And this one was kind of just, it was not, so they came out with Black Platinum Egoist. So that's just a little history for the two for you all out there, on how they were created, who they were created by, etc. Now for me, for the scent, do they smell similar? Why do people say that if you love Egoist, then you're going to love Bois d'Ile? That's basically what I'm making a video about here, because there's quite a few comments on Bois d'Ile. I know I keep pronouncing that wrong. On like base notes and Fragrantica saying that if you like Egoist, then you're going to upgrade to Bois d'Ile. That Bois d'Ile is going to be the fragrance that you're not going to go back to Egoist, basically. Now, as usual, I'm going to go against the crowd with this one, because for me, Egoist is love at first sniff. Bois d'Ile, this version right here, was not. I purchased this fragrance a long time ago. I got in on Will's split a long time ago, probably 2 years ago. For all you that don't know, he's Pegasus 27, I believe. I don't remember what the number is, to be honest with you, but he used to do all these splits. He used to be very active in the community. And I got 75 mils of this. I bought it blindly from him because he said that if you like sandalwood, then you'll love this. Well, obviously, I'll show you the bottle here too real quick. You got the magnetic cap too. This is the huge, I believe this is the 6.8, it's 200 ml bottle. You can only get this version, obviously, and I believe they came out with a parfum version of it too. They're both on the more expensive ends of the spectrum for the designer fragrances, and they don't sell them in the stores, only at the boutique and the online Chanel website. Obviously, the same kind of goes for Egoist, unless you're at, I believe they sell this at Nordstrom, if you go to the actual store and stuff like that. Around here, unless I were to go all the way to New York City, which is a 5-hour drive, I can't get this anywhere. I can't get this at Sephora, I can't get this at Macy's, I can't get this at Lord & Taylor. It is difficult to get. I have to order them both. Well, obviously I did not order this, but you would have to order them both if you're in my situation. Now, Bois d'Ile, when you first apply this fragrance, which I will say too, by the way, that this smells different from the atomizer opposed to your skin. There is a floral note that I really don't like in this fragrance. I believe it's probably the jasmine. It kind of gives it a pea quality to it, and it's very off-putting. Now, Egoist, for the first 15 minutes or so on my skin, I know a lot of people have said that they don't even get it for that long. You get the same feeling. It's like a pea sort of animalic smell. I believe that it's probably the lavender sandalwood combination, the very brisk, cold urine smell. That goes away soon enough, and it becomes a very warm sandalwood, creamy, cinnamon sort of fragrance with a little tinge of lavender in there, and a little bit of rose. I freaking love Egoist, if you didn't know already. And Bois d'Ile on my skin, I can't even. I'm honestly not even going to spray it on my skin. It becomes this sort of sharp floral, and I know a lot of people say that they like this fragrance because it's smoother than Egoist, but I think it's sharper on my skin. It's because of the floral notes. Because of the floral notes, it's definitely a little more feminine too. I know that a lot of people say that this is unisex, right down the middle of the road, and for the most part I agree, but I'm not really too fond of floral fragrances to begin with. If you're comfortable with wearing floral fragrances, by all means. I mean, I wear Montala's Red Oud or Tom Ford's Noir de Noir with no problem at all, but there's certain floral notes that are just plain and simple. It's not even the fact that I think that they smell feminine, it's just that I don't like them. I'm not big on floral fragrances to begin with. They give me a headache. Honestly, I don't like floral fragrances all that much on women either. If it's just a floral bomb, I'm not into it. So for this, there's a lot of floral going on my skin. There's a lot of jasmine and damask rose and lang lang, and all that combined, the lang lang, which and the rose and the jasmine kind of give it too much of a feminine tinge for me. I don't like lang lang either in most of my fragrances. I don't like l'eau de C, for example, and it's just not. It's not my kind of fragrance, is what it comes down to. It's not that it's a bad smell. It's just that the floral, the sharp floral, is a little too much for me to bear. It's not. It doesn't stick around too long for the Bois d'Ile. It's not. It's not like it's around for hours and hours. It actually goes away probably after 40 minutes or so on my skin. The super, loud, sharp floral, and then it becomes a smoother, sort of sandalwood, tonka sort of smell, but you still get the floral in there. And I really just can't get past that. I mean, every once in a while, I do spray this on my hand just to kind of smell it and see if I can go back to it and enjoy it. I really don't, though. It's not for me. It's something that, I could see my mother wearing or my grandmother or something like that. Even though once this dries down, it does become very user-friendly. Anybody could wear it, like a businesswoman's, businessman even. But I do associate this fragrance with femininity, um, and it's not what a tongue-twisting word. Femininity. Um, it's not. It's not super masculine to me. It is definitely unisex, but I just associate it with feminine products, I guess, feminine perfume. Not that that's an issue. If you want to wear it, that's fine. I do respect the fragrance for what it is, and if this somehow inspired Egoiste in any way, shape, or form, then that's great. But I do not fall uh, into the category of the people that enjoy this more than Egoiste, or start to believe that this is the upgraded version of Egoiste. It's just not for me. Egoist, on the other hand, is definitely a more masculine approach to the sandalwood, tonka, cinnamon sort of combination, and it's definitely got the woody notes in there. It almost reminds me of being in, if you like, in Old Forge. If you've ever heard of Old Forge in New York, they have all these shops, um, basically with like woodwork and stuff like that. And if you go into one of these older shops that have all the woodwork and you got like the cinnamon candles and all that kind of stuff, that combination, it just reminds me of that kind of a very masculine, sort of comforting scent that you would smell in fall or winter. And this, I just don't associate with masculinity at all. They are different, but there is definitely similarities. They're both sandalwood based, in my opinion, and they both have the creamy sort of tonka. Uh, but Bois d'Ile does not. It does not contain cinnamon, and it doesn't have the lavender, brisk lavender. So for people to say that they're almost identical is kind of wrong, in my opinion. If I had to go, purchase one of these, I would definitely go with Egoist, especially if you are a man. Not that there's an issue. If you're a man and you like floral fragrances, by all means, check this one out. Maybe that's kind of misleading, anyways, because maybe it only does that on my skin. I don't know if for obviously I don't know how it's going to react on your skin, if it's going to bring out all the floral notes or not. But for me, it definitely does. So between the two, especially with the price point and everything, not that that typically matters because their way exclusive line is actually pretty affordable. I do enjoy Coromandel, and I love Sycamore. But this one I really wanted to love, actually. It was when I bought this fragrance from Will, I was like, okay, this is going to be my, way exclusive fragrance that I'm going to be able to sit there and kind of hype up. And I just kind of, when I first sprayed it, I was just like, the look of disappointment. So for me, it's just kind of a pass. Obviously, I'm going to keep the stuff because I can refer to it, and it is considered a masterpiece, obviously. But I definitely love Egoist more. I hope that kind of helped you guys with differentiating the two. If you want the more masculine approach and you want the added cinnamon and the more warming sort of vibe, then definitely go for Egoist. But if you would like the more creamy sandalwood and floral approach, check out Bois d'Ile. I hope that you guys enjoyed, and I will talk to you all later. Bye.